and ain't no wannabes here. With some not so nice advice for your writing career. To be clear, no punches will be pulled, but the punch may be spiked. How they like before they get on the mic. To my left, we got the mighty Mer Lafferty. And if I piss her off, believe me, she'll come after me. And her co-host, Matt Evan Wallace, on the right. Yes, she may be half as hype as she can take him in a fight. So settle in, folks, buckle in and boot up. Time to meddle in a way to make you writer shut up. It's hard work, but the perk is that it's fun and exciting. Facebook will still be there when you're done writing. Ditch Diggers! Ditch Diggers!
Coming to you live from the mudroom of Morgan Freeman's Trophy Solarium, we are the Ditch Diggers, Mer Lafferty and Matt Wallace. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Mer. It's been a while.
Has it? I feel like we were just talking to Cassandra.
No, as I was saying that, I was like, what are you doing? What is this intro? It's been a while shit that you're about to say. It's ridiculous. No, it hasn't been a while because I like you very much and we text constantly and we just did a really wonderful episode with Cassandra Ka that everybody liked a lot. So, but you have to say something when you introduce these things.
Yes, you could have opened it up with, "Hi, Mer, you didn't mention that we have news."
I could have, but I didn't.
Okay.
So two poorly done segues. You can now add poorly done intros to my resume. Hey, Mer.
Yeah.
Did you know we have news?
I did know we had news. We've been sitting on the damn news for 2 weeks now.
We have. It's been insufferable, and so have I.
Yes. Ditch Diggers actually got a HUGO nomination for Best Fan Cast.
It did. We made it. Second year of the podcast, and we're on the HUGO ballot with what I assume will be the heavy hitters. I haven't actually seen the rest of the nominations yet, so I don't know who else has been nominated. But congratulations, everyone else has been nominated.
Yes, congratulations to everybody else on the nomination. We're recording this before the announcement.
Yes, the day before the announcement.
So we only know we're nominated, but I'm sure everybody else in the category are intelligent and entertaining and will be worthy competitors, and we will cage fight them at Worldcon.
Sadly, I will not be able to be at Worldcon. That was the other thing I was going to say
I know.
and apologize for. I'm not going to be able to make it to Helsinki for the award ceremony, but you will be there, Mer, to represent, and you can accept for me. I'm sure I'll scribble a little something should we actually win.
Yeah, you need to scribble something.
I will scribble something, and I'll send you a full-size cardboard cutout of myself to take up there that can stand next to you while so you can stand behind it and do my voice while you read whatever I scribble. You
need to make it 2/3 your size, else it will become sentient and we won't be able to control it.
I mean, I don't see a problem with that. But you're the one who's going to be there, whatever you say. But no, it's an amazing thing. It really is. It's a hell of a thing. It's we've both been in podcasting a long time. You longer than I, and much more frequently, and have worked very hard on your podcasts. And I have wanted a HUGO since I was like 11, and I saw Harlan Ellison show everybody his on the Sci-Fi Channel. So yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. And I think we really got to thank everybody out there who heeded our call for votes and got us to the show. It's very cool, and we really appreciate it. Everybody out there.
Yeah, I've also wanted one of these since I was a small wee child, and it's still not real to me, and I'm still slightly worried it's somehow going to be taken away from us. It's like imposter syndrome, except you have heard of nominations being rescinded for whatever reasons. It's happened.
Yeah, it has happened, but I literally got another email yesterday or the day before saying we're going to announce nominations on Tuesday. So I think we're pretty solid at this point.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. I'm sure I had a little bit of that when I found out. It was also like 8 in the morning when I found out, and I just woken up, and Nikki was shaking me like, "Mer's texting you. You got a HUGO nomination."
Yeah, it was killing me. I'm just like, I was convinced that you'd gotten it the night before because it came in at like 1 o'clock my time.
Right,
so I figured you were already awake and already knew, and so I didn't hear from you and didn't hear from you. And then finally I started texting both you and Nikki going, someone get Matt up.
Yeah, so she did, and I'm like, I'm sure I'm misunderstanding what's going on right now. Sleep out state. But no, I checked my inbox. And if you ever wondered how they do these things, as Mer said, we don't know who else has been nominated at this point because they haven't announced, but they do email everybody individually a couple of weeks before just to make sure you're eligible and you're going to accept the nomination and everything's on the up and up before they announce it. So, but they tell you it's totally confidential, so don't tell anybody else. But that's how that whole process works. So we found out we got a nomination a couple of weeks before, but we won't find out who we're on the ballot with or who else has been nominated until tomorrow. Although we do have some friends who also got nominations and did share it with us in total defiance of the confidential email. We won't say who, but we do know that there are some. It seems to be a good year, is all I'm going to say. A good, worthy year.
Yes.
For the Hugo Awards, which is nice after the. Not that worthy things have not won Hugos in the last couple of years. There have been plenty of really worthy, awesome wins. But
I don't think you need to to clarify this. I'm pretty sure that unless someone's listening to this like 10 years in the future and have forgotten or missed everything that happened in the past couple of years, everybody knows what you're talking about.
Okay, good. Although I will say, I do expect that when aliens, excavate the Earth hundreds of thousands of years from now, this will be one of the only things left is our podcast. So.
That's true. But that would mean we would have to justify every single thing we say and the full history of it.
It would, and that would take a long time, and it would turn into a fucking Tolkien novel, and we don't need to do that. So you're absolutely right. But point being, that is the process, and we're very honored. And though I will not be able to attend WorldCon in Helsinki, Mer will be there, and I hope we win. I think we deserve it. I'm very proud of what we do here. Yeah,
me too. I'm always very happy when I hear other professionals say how much they appreciate the podcast. It's very happy feelings.
It is very happy feelings, and just on top of that, and it's validating, and it's reassuring because you never know how good a job you're doing and what you're attempting to do. But I just think what we do is needed, and I think we do a pretty decent job of informing the people and getting people thinking more business mindedly about writing or entering the field.
Yeah.
So. I'm very proud of Ditch Diggers. I'm very grateful to the audience that we've built that supports us on Patreon and got us as far to the nominations. I hope y'all will continue to carry us to a win, because although I'm honored to be nominated, I'll say it. I would like to win. I would like the stupid rocket. I would. I'll admit it.
It's not a stupid rocket.
Mer has no problem admitting she wants the Hugo. It's been an 11-year journey for her with the podcast to this award, and that's awesome. And I admire your self-awareness. It is a thing for me because I usually bag on awards so heavily, but I'm willing to admit that this was hardwired into me at an early age, and though I don't think by any means it's everything, I want the freaking award. That was it. So. Thank you all for supporting us, and please continue to do so. We really appreciate it. We will keep doing our best job on the podcast to bring you all this wonderful information and all these things. So yeah, all that.
Excellent. Well, we don't have a guest today, but we do have some good Twitter questions that I think can keep us going for a little while. I do want to talk about some future guests we have. We've confirmed that they will be on the show, but we haven't scheduled them yet.
Right.
I can't remember if I've mentioned this before or not, but I had an awesome talk with Tobias Bakel at Confusion in January, and the shit he was telling me just blew my mind. And I'm just like, we have got to get you on the show, and you need to let us record everything you just said to me, because Toby has, we're going to be calling that episode "Channeling Your Inner Asshole." And
you told me about the talk you had with him. You did not tell me about the title.
I didn't.
I approve wholeheartedly.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm so excited. So Tobias Bakel, we got to get him on, and let's see. We're gonna be what?
Toby is a masterclass ditch digger, so I'm fully in favor of that. He has a lot to offer in many areas of that arena. So very cool.
Yeah, and we have a couple of writers approached me at the same con and suggested a topic, which is stay-at-home parents who are also ditch diggers, because it's things are a little bit different.
Yeah, that's a good one, and it's not, I have no children, so it's not something I am an expert on. But that is definitely a good topic.
Yeah, and we will have a man and a woman on that show. Let's see. Adam Rakunas and Andrea Phillips have both given interest in being on the show. And
Good folks. I like
yeah.
Adam a lot, and I like Andrea. She has fudge.
Yes, Andrea always has fudge.
It's very good fudge.
Oh, and you just scored somebody, didn't you?
I did. It's I don't want to. It's not. I haven't locked it down yet.
Oh,
so
okay.
I don't want to say who, but it's a pretty big. You will all be pleased if and when it is announced.
I'm excited. I don't know the person, but I follow them on Twitter and learn a lot always when they tweet. So
Yeah, I will say it will be a film and TV related episode, which I'm happy about because I want to do more of those with more and bigger knowledgeable guests about it. So that will be very cool. We're working on doing all kinds of different things for you. We like to bring you all the angles, not just SFF publishing, even though, we do that a lot and we're happy to talk about it. But there are many arenas for writing, Mer. And I suppose I could use that to segue into our first topic, unless you have something else you want to add about future guests or
segue away.
Yeah, we thought we'd do a little viewer's choice today, or listener's choice. You can't see us, which is good because I'm not wearing that many clothes. I am wearing clothes, just not that many. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
I'm pleased I got dressed today.
No, and I'm proud of you for doing so. Any day for a professional writer that involves pants, I feel is a good day.
Yesterday was pajamas and comics and video games all day.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that either. Whatever you do in life, a pajamas, comics, and video games day is necessary.
Yeah.
To decompress. But yeah, we thought we'd do a little listener's choice. So we went to the Twitters, and we got some good ones here that I think are worth discussing because they touch on some things we've talked about or mentioned several times or reinforced, but we've never actually elaborated on them for a full show. One of them being, so Michael Scott asks, I want to make writing my job, but I like screenplays, books, and blogs. How do I figure out which one to focus on most, or do I pursue all? I think that's a very good, very fundamental freelance writer question, and that's kind of the question that we all start out with, unless, you only do one thing. But as we mentioned on the show several times, Mer, and I know this is something I always reiterate to freelancers, is I always encourage everyone to have multiple revenue streams and keep as many irons in the fire as possible. I encourage everyone to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think that's necessary if you're going to do this professionally and or do this for a living, because the pay rate in all these things individually tends to be so tenuous. So you need to stack these things and have multiple things coming in. And also the fail rate and the dry spell rate is so high, you need multiple revenue streams to compensate when, your others are not going so well. So while I've always said you have multiple revenue streams, we haven't really opened it up and talked about how to do that, how to figure out which, and how to manage it. So I think we should talk about that now, Mo. That is my thought.
I think you're right. The thing that pinged in my head when he sent that tweet was, if you're just starting out, you should probably focus more on one thing than another. And I would suggest making that blogging, because if you want to make money in months instead of years, blogging will do it for you faster than novels or screenplays, especially if you're just starting out.
No, the internet is instantaneous after all. So yeah, I completely agree with that. I am not going to say I'm particularly happy about it, but that's another rant for another time. But no, and also
ditch diggers aren't always happy, Matt.
No, we're not. In fact, I'm rarely happy. Personally, I'm fucking delirious. But yeah, no, that is, I completely agree with that assessment. Also, when you if and when you transition into other things like books or screenwriting or whatever it's going to be, it helps to have an established platform.
Yes.
And all these things. So blogging is definitely a way to do that. And when we've talked about platform building in the past, the thing that I always key on, because that's another question we get a lot, is like, do I do Twitter? Do I do Facebook? Do I do Instagram? Do I do Tumblr? There are all these things, and it's overwhelming, and I don't know what to do. I always say, I think it stands true, is you got to pick something you can do consistently, because consistency is really the key to building these platforms and building things like blogs. Is you have to find a thing you can talk about or write about in a format you can do it, where you can do something every week or every, bi-weekly or every day or whatever it is. But you have to pick a consistent schedule and be consistent with it and keep delivering that content to people, because consistency is what draws in an audience and keeps them coming and lets them know, okay, I'm somebody you need to pay attention to on a regular basis because I do this in these regular intervals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I try to branch out my social media, and even when I have conscious efforts, I still fail, because it's like I had a new goal. I wanted to do a short Periscope video every day.
Right.
Talk about writing, just check in with people, say hey, and I have not done one. And I think this was my goal starting in February.
Right.
And I realized it's because I work from home. I am rarely presentable before 2.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on Periscope. It's like, it makes sense. It's like, wait till maybe 10 or 11 when people are able to watch stuff, probably settle down into whatever they're doing that day, and turn on the Periscope. But I'm like, I'm not presentable then. And almost consistently, I'm not presentable at that time. And another example is, everybody loves pictures. Everybody loves selfies. Everybody loves having something visual to go along with whatever you're writing. I went to one of my favorite band's concert on Friday night. I got backstage.
That's right. You sent me that.
I got one picture. I'm glad I got one. I mean, right. Not over others. I'm glad I managed to remember to get one. But, if I'd been smart, I would have been like, okay, let me take a picture with this person, and then let me take a picture with this person, and then and my daughter was with me, and I'm like, okay, my daughter and this person, if I were really into Instagram and...
Yeah, I was going to say, and I can Instagram them all individually.
Exactly.
With different filters and different taglines and hashtags and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are people who do that. That's what it's, because I'm totally on the same wavelength with you in all ways on this. And there are people who are able to do that. And when I'm out, I wonder, how the fuck do they stay out? How are they able to take the time in the moment and make all that shit happen? Because I have no ability to stay on top of that. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I don't do it because I'm putting it down. I would love to do it. I would love to have a more visual focus on the world. But I don't. And even when I'm faced with these opportunities, I don't think to do them. And so this is my very long anecdotal way of saying I use the Twitters, and I've been using the Twitters for 10 years this month, actually. And
congratulations.
Yeah, I know. I just realized it was April 2007.
No, I'm not giving you shit. I just realized in that very brief second after you said that, I'm like, is this a thing we celebrate? Do I say, I honestly didn't know how to respond? That's
okay.
No, and
I'm just saying, I've been there for a long time. Yeah. I'm comfortable. I've got a hefty following. It's interesting, they're not as engaged as other people's following, because I see someone post something and they've got maybe like 8,000 followers.
Right.
And there's like this 120 tweet conversation afterwards.
Right.
And I've got, over 12,000, and I don't manage to get that. So maybe I still have some learning to do about the Twitters, but
no, I mean, well, you said the key word there is engagement, Merv, and that's and this is the topic. There's another topic for another time, but it's not always about follower count. It's about engagement and how in tune your audience is, and also the truth is you have a very hearty following. You do use the Twitters, but also lately in particular, you have not been using the Twitters that much. You made a conscious choice a while ago to step back from the Twitters,
and that's for mental health reasons,
and that's absolutely valid. But I mean, that's the trade-off that you make is people get less. And again, it goes back to what I was talking about with consistency. People get less habitualized to following your stuff or paying attention to you because she doesn't tweet that much, or she's taking a hiatus, so I don't need to pay attention to her lately. That's a thing, and And I'm not. And again, I totally get why you did the hiatus, and it's led to you, being more focused and more mentally healthy. And I think we all need to do that at some point. But it just feeds back into that thing is, and dude, I tweet practically every day, and I have the same problem. I know I'm not as engaged with my audience as other authors are. And the thing is, that's always kind of been my brand. I'm not the guy that you have long. People have even told me they kind of feel like they shouldn't approach me directly, even though they enjoy the things that I tweet or that I write about, because I put off that I discourage everyone kind of vibe. So, and I'm trying to lighten that up in
You have.
and I have a lot. I'm trying to do more of it, but it's just there are upsides and downsides to every kind of position you take on that. I'm never going to be hyper engaged. I don't have the attention span for it. I respect the hell out of people who do, but I just can't be. I can't be on there, having multiple conversations with multiple people all day. I can't do it. It's not going to be me. So you pay a price for that, but there are also benefits to it, which is you get more shit done. And I think you just have to kind of cultivate, the brand and the kind of the persona and the process. That's really more about it. You have to cultivate the process that works for you, in addition to all the other things we just said. But I so feel you on all the other stuff though. Like people don't, think about like the presentability thing for video because I keep for a year now and I talked about this with my agent over a year ago. It was like, what are the things that actually yield results in terms of promoting your book and converting people? It's all about conversion. And the two things that we really wanted to focus on were like direct mailing, which we've mentioned on the show before. And that, that involves doing a newsletter and having a mailing list and having people you communicate with directly that are engaged with you and that you can let know, go buy my shit. And the other thing is video content. And I would like to do video content. And I'm good at video. I was a pro wrestler for 10 years, for God's sakes. I know how to cut a promo. But the truth is, during prime recording hours of the day, I look like hammered shit.
Hammered shit.
Hammered shit. And that's, before I've scrubbed myself up and really gone through the process of making myself look presentable. And I'm also, the truth is, I'm also a little sensitive about how I look right now. I've gained an extraordinary amount of weight in the last few years. I've gone completely gray in my hair and in my beard, which I grew to hide my double chin to begin with. And also my right eye has become much more closed than my left eye. And it's very noticeable on video. So it's been hard for me to get into that because those are tough things to overcome. And honestly, beyond, it's not honestly even just a vanity thing. It's I really feel like that can be counterproductive, man. I feel like you get people who don't see you but love your words or even love your voice. And if they look at you and you don't match their idea of what you should look like, or you don't look like somebody who's cooler than them, or you don't fit some kind of image or something, it can really turn people off. It's something you honestly have to worry about. We're a very vain, visual, aesthetic-based culture. So it's a hard thing to do, even though it's something that would behoove you to explore, video content, because it does work, and it's a good way to build a platform and a brand and draw an audience, So I admire you people who are aesthetically pleasing rolling out of bed. I know you exist. I am not one of them. But if you are, and you want to be a freelance writer, absolutely start doing video immediately. I completely encourage you to do that.
Yeah, I do feel, and it's mostly my fault that we have gotten off topic.
I think we're still on topic.
Well, it's the question is what focus on multiple streams, and while we do think yes, focus on multiple streams, I think you can work on a novel or a screenplay in the background while you work on blogging content about things that you know about and are passionate about. And then after a couple of months, you can use those blog posts as possible clips for future employment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all the while work on your novel or your screenplay. I don't know if I would recommend working on both a novel and a screenplay to start out with, because that's a lot of story to keep in your head.
No, absolutely not. And we're coming at it from the perspective of you're building the house from the foundation up at this point. If you're someone who has experience writing both, you studied creative writing, you studied screenwriting, you've worked on both for a thesis, or you've dabbled in it as a hobby, and now you want to take it to the next level. I think that's slightly different. But if you're just starting out and you're like, well, I enjoy writing, but I don't know what to write yet, yeah, you definitely shouldn't be working in 10 different formats at the same time. It reminds me, one of my favorite scenes from the show Spaced, which I don't know if anybody remembers at this point, but it was Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright's like first big deal, and Simon Pegg's roommate is an aspiring pro writer, and she's at a party and someone asks her, well, what are you working on? And she proceeds to rattle off this just utterly bananas list of like, well, I've got a few articles and a novel and a picture book and a children's book. And it's just like a list of like 10 things. The point of that scene being she's not doing any of that crap. Like, it's all stuff she wants to do and is planning to do, but will never get to because she's not focusing on any one thing.
Yeah.
So you don't want to become that writer. You don't want to become the writer who's like, well, I have all these great ideas. If I can just get to one of them, then it'll be fantastic. You should definitely focus early on. And I think platform building is the best way to start when you do that, because it serves so many different functions at once. But once you do that, then yeah, it's time to move on to a bigger project. But I would say the thing is, it's kind of a proof of concept thing. You need to prove to yourself that you can finish and edit and professionally polish a novel or a screenplay before you move on to one or the other. I would think that would be kind of my litmus test for that. But if you get the polished novel, like you really worked it, you finished it, you did a good job, you're subbing it, which is an arduous, horrible process. I see nothing wrong with starting another project as soon, with that out in the world. I think
you definitely should start another project. There's no, no, you need to, because if you just focus on your subbing, then you'll drive yourself crazy. I'm currently waiting for an answer on a project, and it's driving me crazy. And I keep telling myself, just pick something up and write it. And then you will stop obsessing about hearing back from X editor.
Yeah, you won't, though. You won't stop obsessing. It'll always be there in the back of your mind.
I won't stop obsessing, but I hope that I actually get some fucking work done.
That's the thing. And I'm not just giving you shit, I'm making a point. It's like, you absolutely should do that. But even if the end result is it doesn't alleviate your worry, you will at least be getting shit done, which is the most important thing. So I think the key there is finish a thing. Like, that's really the important thing. And working on multiple things, especially when you're starting out, will make it much less likely that you will finish a big fucking thing.
Yeah.
As Lewis Black would say. The other thing I think we should get into, because this is also the root of his question, is like, how do you choose which medium you should work in?
It's really funny, because today I've been thinking about my next novel, and I can't decide whether it's adult or YA, because I can't decide which of the two main characters are the main point of view character. And this has stymied me. I've just hit a wall.
Right. No, that absolutely happens. And it's I was going to say, you can come at that from so many angles. Like, first there's the creative thing, which is what you're talking about. Which creative choice do you make that will determine what it is? And I think, in a pure world, in a better world than ours, that would always be the sole litmus test by which you judge what you should do. They should all be creative choices, solely creative choices that should factor in. But you do also have to ask yourself questions from other angles, like market and professional angles, especially when you're focused on trying to do this as a job.
Yeah.
Which is, if you're gonna, like you're talking about, if you're gonna write a novel, what kind of novel are you gonna write, and what are you gonna write in? And the thing is, and I'm sure we've even said it before, is you should never determine anything solely on trying to aim for a market or trying to aim for a trend or trying to do all that shit. And I mean, I do stand by that, but I don't think there's anything wrong, and I do think there's something even necessary in asking yourself some of these questions and factoring it in when you're thinking about things as a career. Because, like, between working on novels or working on screenplays, like, creatively you might lean much more towards screenplays. That your idea might be, I see this as a movie, like, it's perfect in my head, it's pristine, it's the thing I want to create, and that's awesome. But the truth is, books, even though the process, like I just said, is horrible, books are much more accessible than movies are. just professionally. Like it is much easier to get published than it is to get a fucking movie made. Like infinitely easier. So if your goal is I want the thing I write to become a realized product that is out there, you might want to start with books because again you can get in a lot. And again, it's not easy, but compared to movies, it is infinitely easier. And that's also something that I'm experiencing. I'm out in Los Angeles and I'm working and trying to work in higher levels of the entertainment industry. And the thing I'm running up against a lot lately is everybody wanting a property. It's become a very property driven, especially movies, television, a little looser, but not much.
Can you explain that?
I'm gonna, yeah. But what I mean is, you go to them with your brilliant original spec pilot that you've written, which means you've written a script based on your own idea. It's never been published anywhere else. And you go to them and you say, I've written this really brilliant spec script, and I think it would make a great show. And they tell you, that's great, but we're really looking for more to base something on a comic or a popular novel or a web series or something that's already out there that's got a following that's sort of proven itself that we can
So they don't
sell.
want to take the chance.
They don't want to take the chance.
That's really what it is.
I've heard that from a lot of people lately, and you can kind of see it, even the trades or anything. A lot of the stuff they announce is based on other shit, like original specs. Unless you're somebody who's really established and has a track record, whether it's movies or like movies are like even harder because movie writing has become a fucking nightmare, and I don't even advise you to get into it. But whether it's movies or TV. You see that like original stuff, it's very hard to get it across the plate. So even if your end goal is to work in television, to work in movies as a screenwriter, it can behoove you in a lot of ways to start off writing books because the access is easier. It gives you a product to talk to the entertainment industry about. It can be a way in the door, and it'll get you generating money and generating resume and generating profile and generating all those professional things a lot quicker than it will trying to go at screenwriting cold, if that's what you're doing. Hey, if you got an entertainment industry hookup, more power to you. Exhaust that as much as you can. But if you're someone from the outside looking in, publishing is much easier to get into. So,
yeah, I knew somebody who I knew a screenwriter who wrote a book, and he kept telling me that all throughout the experience, he was waiting the book publishing experience. He was waiting for someone to tell him that the book's been canceled.
Right.
Because that happens all the time in Hollywood. It's like, you get to another level and then they pull the plug. And he's like, this didn't happen in publishing. I'm like, well, yeah, we don't make as much money and we don't, and we certainly move at a slower pace, but that's true. Once you get the book written, unless you're someone like Milo or just complete human feces.
I used to like that name too. Now I cringe whenever I hear it.
Like me and fedoras, man.
Yeah.
I used to like that hat. I used to think that hat was sexy.
That hat still is sexy on you, Mar. I'll say that outright.
Thank you.
But I know where you're coming from.
But yeah, he was just completely baffled that publishing was not going to just pull his project or even threaten to.
It's amazing how different the process is. One of my favorite quotes. It's in The Devil's Guide to Hollywood by Joe Esterhaus. It's remember, one guy wrote War and Peace. 27 writers wrote the Flintstones movie.
Yeah,
and that to me sums it all up right there. It's it's the land where a script can be passed through decades and even generations among myriad writers, and the movie never gets made, despite the fact that they've spent literally millions of dollars developing it. It's the wackiest, kookiest thing. So yeah, the stability of publishing is also much nicer. It's just that the margins are so goddamn low compared to screenwriting. When you do it successfully. So yeah, there absolutely is that. But the worlds are completely different. Publishing is much more accessible and will put you through less of a meat grinder starting out than the entertainment industry will. I can say that for a fact, having gone through both at an entry level.
Yeah.
But and again, publishing has all its own, pitfalls and perils, and we've talked about a lot of them. But that's definitely, if you're deciding on I want to be a pro writer. I want to do this as a career. Which medium, which format would be better for me starting out? Publishing is definitely the better entry level medium. Beyond blogging and building a platform and doing internet stuff, what Murr mentioned, which is the best way to start out cold, period, before you transition into those things.
Yeah, you can also look at the career of Zay Frank, who is probably one. He's an anomaly in that he was the person who, every time he got a weird idea, he would do it. He had a week daily video blog, and it wasn't just him talking. He would do some fun production, and if you've ever been on camera, you got to pay attention to the fact that his video was up close, on his face, and he never says He knows how to talk on camera. I've been doing this for over a decade, and I still stumble through podcasting.
No, you're absolutely right. The dude is very slick. He's very good at what he does.
He just comes up with the weirdest shit. Like, let's make an Earth sandwich. So he wants to find somebody at one coordinate and find the opposite coordinate on the other end and put a piece of bread down. And they both have to do it. He did this and had a whole bunch of people send in pictures.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
But then, other times he's the one he got a book deal out of it. He did kids do find a picture of yourself as a child and then try to recreate it as an adult.
Right.
And just
no, I watched the pet voiceover videos he does and shit.
Oh, those are awesome.
They're brilliant. And the thing is, he's, like you said, he knows how to talk on camera, but I think even more than that with him is he's one of those people who in particular gets the internet as an audience and as a market. Like the stupid stuff, like a lot of you, I'm thinking of my my non-writer friends who listen to this podcast are going to hear that Earth sandwich idea, and you're going to think that is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. How can a person who does that have a career? Because people on the internet love shit like that. They love it. That is an amazing idea that will go viral every time. And it's insanely hard. It really is. It seems easy. That's the other thing that people who don't do this or don't have involvement in it don't realize is you hear, I'm going to make an Earth sandwich. You're like, well, shit, I could come up with a million ideas like that. You really can't. It's a hard thing to do well consistently. It's
like writing greeting cards.
Yeah, yeah. You don't realize it until you read a really good one how bad the rest of them are. It's the same thing with, and we've said another thing. We've said you can't plan a viral video or a viral media. Like you can't write. You can only do something that becomes viral. And people have ideas like that, and they get the internet on a preternatural level, and it's a very hard thing to do. And it's a thing that dude, his mind is just built for it somehow. And I envy the shit out of that. I really do. Because I try to come up with stuff that'll capture people like that, and I suck at it. So I take my hat off to that. It's a skill. It's an invaluable talent. I don't even know if I can call it a skill. Executing is a skill. Having the idea, I think, is just talent. But it's an invaluable talent to have as a freelancer trying to sell other shit, like just promotionally. To be able to do that is amazing.
Yeah, so I recommend looking at his body of work. There's a wiki of that daily video blog. He's got a TED Talk where he has to continually tell people to stop clapping because he does not have enough time.
It's hard being Zay Frank.
Yeah, I know.
Hard goddamn work.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
that was envy in my voice. Did you hear the envy, Mur?
I heard.
Don't envy people. That's another thing. Envy leads nowhere good.
Be jealous. Don't be envious.
Yeah, don't covet.
Yeah. I didn't know that those two words had different meanings. I felt like I grew a little bit when I discovered that happened.
No, that was an incredibly nuanced, complex statement you just made, Mur. I actually had like a newborn respect for you, and I respect you immensely. And I took it to a new plateau. Where I was like, God damn, that was deep.
Yeah.
Mur's upping the game. I better do some reading. I need to stay on top of this shit.
Yep.
No, but I completely agree. So those are all things about you want to be a professional, but you don't know what medium to start out in. And I think we did a pretty good job covering it. Should we move on to something else, Mar?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, we had another one, and there's some more questions that come in the interim, and we'll deal with those more as a Q&A thing. But some jump off ones. Repeated listeners and professional colleagues of ours. They run Escape Artists, which do many podcasts, including a magazine that you edit, Mer. So there's that. Alistair Stewart and Margaret Kenner. Margaret started off talking about how her and Alistair were talking the other day about playlists, pro music, anti music, track list per project, rules of thumb, etc. So they're asking about playlists that you make for writing. And then Alistair dovetailed off that, and this is where I thought it got interesting and worthy of exploration, was further to that, the research rabbit hole. With playlists and other study and work aids, how much prep is too much? And that's a really solid ditch-digging question, and I think that it's something that I'd like to address because I've seen it actually fuck up a lot of writers, and it's something going to cons early on that I realized you shouldn't do. But by that I mean excessive research. And so
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the question, right? I'd like to hear your take on these things.
On the excessive research?
Yeah, on excessive, and kind of dovetailing and all that, like not just research, but all the prep you do leading up. Like what's good prep, what's bad prep, and how much is too much of all of it.
That's the problem, is you don't know what's good or bad.
Right.
And you have to know, you have to develop the skill to stop looking into something when you realize it doesn't help you. When I was writing Six Wakes, I realized pretty early on that I wanted to be faithful to the science of space travel.
Right.
And don't care at all about the science of cloning.
Right.
So my
you know
cloning
what?
my cloning technology is hand wavy as shit.
Yeah, and you know what? That's fine. And I'm sorry. I know this is like, you can debate this shit with people all day and they'll tell you, no, it's not fine. It's wrong. The science in your fictional story is wrong. I don't care, dude. I'm sorry. I just don't. It matters if you think it matters. And there are plenty of amazing books with shitty science.
Yeah.
Dude, it's fake. It's made up. It doesn't matter. I love y'all, but it doesn't. And I think it's perfectly okay to say this is important to me and I'm going to nail this and it's a thing that's going to be featured prominently in my story. And then there's this part that's just going to be a minor device and I'm going to wave it away. I think that's fine. Not only is it fine, it's necessary because you can go bananas and waste so much time and so much energy immersing yourself in all that shit. And the story is not about that. It's something that makes the story function, but the story is not about that. Again, unless it is. If you're writing an exploration of cloning science and that's the whole deal, God bless you, go nuts, you know.
Right.
But in the case of Six Wakes, which I've read and which is an amazing book, and you should all go out and purchase it immediately. It's like it's beyond anything. Cloning is integral to the story, but that's not what makes the story amazing to me. So I'm glad you didn't waste an abundance of time explaining the science of cloning. You know, I think it would have been a mistake.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah.
And some people like that kind of stuff, and they probably would not like my book. And you know what? That's okay, too. But early on, I decided, you know, it honestly, it might have just been the fact that I have access to a lot of astronomers. I'm very lucky to have, Laura Burns and Pamela Gay, and to a smaller extent, Phil Plait.
Right.
As people who will answer questions.
Yes.
And so I was able to do a lot of space stuff, but with their help. But I did get some stuff on cloning and just decided I did not want to go down that rabbit hole. So it's like sometimes research can be like TV tropes, which is just the most fun website to, end your marriage and fail out of school over. Because it's just you will spend so much fucking time on that site. I don't know any site on the internet that entraps me like TV Tropes does.
It's a good one. I think we all have our version of that, but that definitely is that Stone Cold is a good one.
Yeah. So I don't know when to stop. I think when you research, you need to get a sense of what you're looking for.
I think you need to know what what you're writing, what it's actually about? And I think that's always a fundamental question to ask,
Yeah.
but it's one that helps you with the research. Because again, like Murray, you made this conscious decision of this is important to me in the story. This is not so important to what I'm doing. So you need to know what it's about and how heavily you're going to focus on it. And you need to know what stuff is going to be just background stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times you'll go through all this shit and maybe one line of it will end up in the actual body of work. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It helps to be informed in what you're doing, even if the specific information doesn't come up, because you immerse yourself in that world. But a lot of it just ends up being minutia and just details that don't matter to the actual story that you're telling. And if it's a very hard thing to gauge, and it is something that I think you learn through experience what is necessary to you and what isn't. But I think the best thing you can do is ask yourself, what is the story I'm telling actually about to me? What are the important things about it? And how is this research actually going to help me achieve that? And how much of it is necessary to achieve that? Um, like the science thing. It's an argument that I had a lot with Scott Sigler, because he's obsessed with all of his science always being good and accurate, whereas I just don't give a shit. And I've done a couple of projects with him where we've gone back and forth on that. And that's part of the dude's process, and that's totally fine. I'm not knocking it. But at the end of the day, a lot of the books that he writes are like these thrillers, and that's the aspect of it. He comes from a very Crichton school of writing, which
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong with that. But like, I really tend to honestly think at the end of the day, it's the thriller aspect that's the engine of this thing you're doing. And while you may enjoy the details, the intensely accurate details that you add, I don't know that it's really added anything for the reader or for the story itself. And that's how I tend to approach the stories and science in the stories. If you're doing something incredibly technical and it's integral to what you're doing, then you absolutely should learn about it. But there's just a breaking point.
Yeah. On the other hand, there are times when you can, when you do the research and you get one line out of it, but if that line is accurate, then the reader will believe a lot more of what you say. And I think
Yeah,
that might have been something else, is that, just the fact that I researched space stuff helped me get some credibility, even though the cloning was clearly hand wavy.
no, that's a fantastic point. Actually, it puts me in mind of Stephen King had a good thing about that. He was like, when it comes to research, just tell me enough for me to lie colorfully.
Yeah.
That's yeah. One validating line that convinces the audience you know what you're talking about can give you license to go off and tell your story and not have to worry so much about it. And that's the thing is that's all technical research too. I think it was something. This is kind of like a pet peeve of mine. And it was when I was talking about the cons earlier. It was something that I encountered at cons very early. People would talk about they're writing a period romance, or they're writing something that takes place in another country, or another time. And they talked about traveling to Scotland, for research. People will fly to other places to do research trips. I'm not knocking that purely as a concept. You can get good stuff out of that. But like there was this one author who was just going on about like you have to go to Scotland to write about Scotland. And it just became this whole diatribe, and I just wanted to tell them, no, you really don't, and you don't. Like the thing, like to lie colorfully, you don't have to go to another place and experience it, especially if you can't afford to. That's the thing that pissed me off about it. It's like, I'm sorry, I can't afford to fucking fly to Scotland to write a story with 2 chapters set in Scotland. If you can't afford to do that, you can research enough to lie colorfully without having to go and breathe the air and eat the food and spend 2 weeks there. I like with that author. My other thought was you just fucking wanted to go to Scotland, and that's fine. Like
Yeah.
have a vacation you can write off. That's what we all want to do. But it's just when you tell people just starting out that who don't know any better, they take that shit really seriously. Like it imprints on them this idea that, well, I can't write about it unless I go there and live the life and, become an Italian chef for 6 months and work in a kitchen every day for 16 hours to write a story set in an Italian kitchen. It's just not necessary. I'm sorry. Whatever perspective you're coming from, that's too much. It's not necessary to do that kind of thing. And if
Well,
you think it is, yeah.
with the internet now, you can find out almost everything. I mean, with Google
absolutely.
Earth, you can figure out what things look like. You can if you read about people's experiences in a certain place or doing a certain job, you can get a sense of what it's like. And this is, we've said it before that there's more going on. There's more information available at your damn fingertips right now than ever in human history. So right. If you want to find the information, you probably can.
No, again, that's fantastic point. And with Google, you can literally go there without going there at this point, and if anybody tells you that lacks authenticity, again, what they're really saying is, I wanted to go take a vacation that I can write off next year. And they just don't want to admit it. So that's another kind of research that I really think people go nuts about for no reason. Like, at least with the technical stuff, there's an argument. With the more subjective stuff, you're lying. You're just lying colorfully. You don't need to have tasted the food. So that's what I think about that. In terms of other kind of prep, a lot of people talk about outlining. There's always that debate, like, how much should I outline? How much time should I spend on it? Where do you stand on outlining, Mer?
I'd love to be able to do it. I would. I find it incredibly difficult. I've tried to learn outlining. I've tried different methods of outlining. I think that the easiest way I find to outline is when I'm with the Bookburners crew, and outlining is half outlining and half brainstorming out loud.
Right. Well, that's also a different scenario too.
Yeah.
You're basically doing like a television writer's room process at that
yes.
point. So you have to, in those instances, you got multiple people working on a multi-part project that all has to join together overall. You have to figure it out ahead of time. You have no choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do not know what's going to happen until I start writing the details. I've tried many, many, many times, but it's just so flat in my head until I start the actual writing that I find it incredibly difficult to outline. And I would love to be able to. I really wish I could.
Right. No, the thing is, I don't even wish I could. It's just not part of my process. And I've talked about this before in other places. I always preface this by, if that is a part of your process and it's something that works for you and it's something that you need, that is fine.
Oh, it's great.
Keep doing it. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying I find it unnecessary. And I also, the point I want to make is, it's not necessary to you if it doesn't work for you. Don't feel like it's something you have to do, no matter what anybody says. It's not a must. It's a thing that you either works for you or doesn't work for you. And it doesn't work for me. And also, I don't write linearly, so outlining is kind of useless to me to begin with. I'm big on like a page of legal pad notes. That's basically my whole outlining process. And half of that is usually just me figuring out what I'm going to name everyone and everything, that I need to know the names of ahead of time. So it's just my outline process is just a bunch of words scribbled in like a Venn diagram on one page of a legal pad, and then I go to it. So again, that's another thing that you kind of have to learn as you go, whether that's a necessary tool for you or whether it's something you can do without, or something that just hampers you, honestly. Because that's the thing, too much outlining. You should never lock yourself into every aspect of a story before you start writing it, because stories have their own flow and their own organic path, and shit changes. It always does, invariably. And you got to allow room for that. If you're trying to lock yourself into an outline you did, started 6 months before you started writing the thing, you're fucked. And it's going to show up when you read the finished work, because it's going to read very stale, it's going to read without a lot of energy, and it's going to feel forced. And those intangible things absolutely come through in writing. That's something I think you really have to learn through doing this to realize after a while. But it absolutely does. Stuff like energy, that's not a bullshit concept. Like, stories have an energy, and it's not necessarily in the words, it's in the feel of them, and I think outlines are one of the things that can kill that.
All right.
I just went off on a whole thing there. I apologize. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on that. And I kind of feel the same way about playlists, which I know sounds weird because that sounds like such an innocuous thing. But I see other authors. It just starts to get on my nerves. I see other authors making a big thing out of that. Like I got to share the playlist that I made on Spotify that I used for the last thing I wrote, and a lot of people can download it. And and maybe it's that's probably just me being a cranky old man. But like I will listen to music when I write and stuff, but I don't have time to meticulously build a fucking playlist for it. Like most of the time, I just look up shit on YouTube, like and just do it that way. I don't have time to devote to like creating a whole document for it, let alone sharing it with others. But how do you feel about that, Mer? Am I just being a cranky old man about the playlist thing?
I think you're being a cranky old man because if that's something you're really into and you do have the time for it, I think it's a great way to connect with your readers.
Yeah.
People love anything that they can have that is associated with a favorite book.
You're not wrong about that. You're absolutely right.
On the other hand, I don't want to be thinking about music. I want music that I can write to, and that usually ends up being the same movie soundtracks.
Right.
I like a lot of instrumental stuff. I listen to the Mad Max soundtrack, and I listen to The Matrix and Cloud Atlas, which I never saw, but I love the music from. I don't even know why I found the music. I think somebody mentioned it, and I listened to a track and loved it. But so I just usually I just have a writer's playlist, and it doesn't matter what I'm working on. I just like to have the background. If I were to, I get inspired by songs sometimes. There's one song that actually is kind of morphing in my head into maybe being part of my book, but I'm not going to listen to that song while I write because I'll be thinking about the song and not what I'm writing.
Right.
So I don't I personally I don't look for a bunch of songs that are associated with my books, but I do understand the reason why, and I believe that if you are a fan who really likes Spotify, I can totally see people really getting into that.
No, they absolutely can. You're right about sharing it and being a good thing. I will say this, and this is one of the reasons it annoys me. And I think there is validity in this concept. There's listening to music while you work, which is a totally valid thing, and I have no problem with it. But when you get into creating the playlist and naming the playlist and sharing the playlist, it has the potential to become one of those writing things that you do that isn't writing, that allows you to focus. You feel like you're focusing on the craft when you're actually not getting anything done.
Ah, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things. It's like, well, I can't start writing until I have my playlist, and it has to be the right playlist, and you'll spend all week making a fucking playlist instead of actually writing when you could have gotten a lot of work done. I see the potential for that there. So there's nothing wrong with doing it, and Murr is absolutely correct. Sharing it with your audience is a great idea. They love that shit. It's cool. Just don't let it become one of those things. Like outline, that's really the crux of this whole topic. It's like outlining. It's like any other kind of prep. It's very easy to get into the feeling of, yeah, I'm doing the work because I'm preparing to write without ever actually writing anything. That's a very seductive, because writing is the hard part. And a lot of people want to be writers, but they don't actually want to write, which I know sounds bananas to some of you, but it's absolutely the God's honest truth, and you're going to encounter plenty of them if you do this for any length of time. And it's very seductive to get into that mode where you're doing all this fun shit to get ready to write with all your great ideas and your playlist and all this shit, but you don't actually write anything. So as long as it doesn't become that, I have no issue with playlists and whatever. Just don't let yourself fall into the trap of preparing to write instead of writing. That would really be my thesis for the whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's
I'm
cool.
with you.
So yeah, those are. So I think those are our listeners' choice topics for the episode, Mara.
No new Twitters since we.
There are, but we're like over an hour now. So if you want to do like a straight regular Q&A and do like the abbreviated version, we can do some more questions, or we can save them for next time. We can do whatever we want, Mara. We are the gods of this universe that we've created.
We are the gods of this universe. Let me check email.
Yeah, do we have an email? I think we have one more Twitter question we could do. So if you have email questions, we can make it a thing. Otherwise, we'll save them for next time. That's a decision we're allowed to make. Because again, gods of our own universe. I need to put that on our business cards.
Yeah.
I think that would be good. Matt Wallace, God of his own universe. And that's all it says. There's no contact information. Because why would God need contact information?
Okay. We've already answered this question, but I want to acknowledge Mackenzie's asking of it. Mackenzie asked basically about the whole social media. What do I need to do? What do I need to include?
Right.
And I think we've pretty much talked about that a lot.
Yeah. You know what we should do that we haven't done? We should do an episode that covers author websites.
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
a good one. I'm going to file that one because that's actually, because there's a lot of shit that, and you see a lot of authors tweet about it too, and there's a lot of valid stuff there. So we have talked about social media a lot, but we should talk more about it. And I'm going to make a note of that, Murr. Make a note right now. Yeah. So you want to acknowledge that Mackenzie asked the question.
Yeah.
Okay, Mackenzie, you've been acknowledged.
Yeah. And I think that's it for ditch digging.
All right. Well, then we'll do the one that I got on Twitter because they didn't. I don't know if it's a guy or not. They didn't hashtag it, so I won't find it later. Alex Camachi asks, I have a blog about horses. Aw. Since blogging is good for publicity as a writer, should I make a new one for writing or try to link them?
I would say probably just keep your blog as it is. Because if you're building an audience of horse lovers, then when you build an audience, people get invested in you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes people don't like it when you go off topic, but more people do. I mean, look at Scalzi's blog. Scalzi talks about everything. Taping bacon to his cat, the Hugos, the sad puppies, his upcoming books, his family. He talks about all that stuff, his pets. I mean, all in one blog. So people get invested in who he is and his projects. If they appreciate his writing and enjoy his writing, then they may enjoy the blog more. And if they enjoy his talks about his family and his cats, then they may be more invested in actually buying his books. So I think staying with one blog and just putting all of you on that blog is the way to go.
Yeah, I completely agree. People will tell you that you should centralize what you do. You'll hear that a lot, and there's wisdom in that. There's wisdom in not spreading yourself too thin, but there's also nothing wrong with covering multiple topics, and people enjoy that. And you also don't want to split your audience too much. You know, like the people who love your horse stuff don't necessarily give a shit about writing. People who write don't necessarily want to hear about horse stuff. You know, I share an agent with Mark Oshiro, who is a very talented dude, and he started off doing reviewing like books and reviewing movies and reviewing comics. So he has like Mark Reads and he has Mark Watches. So he has these different kind of channels, and it's all folded under like if his Twitter handle is Mark Does Stuff. So people know Mark.
Is that why he has that?
Yes. Because
okay.
Mark does a lot of stuff, and it's a lot of different stuff. So people know Mark does stuff, and then you can find which stuff he does that you like under that, but it's not all balled into one thing. You know, when Mark watches. When Mark reads, and he keeps them separate. But it's all under one umbrella, which is Mark Does Stuff. So I think that's kind of the best model and the best way to explain it. So yeah, and also check out what Mark does because Mark is great.
Yeah, I like Mark a lot.
Yeah, Mark's cool dude. Okay, that's it for the Twitter questions for this week. Thank you for the listener suggestions that inspired this entire episode. We appreciate that. If you have questions, you can email Murr.
Yes.
At a
mightymurr@gmail.com.
Yes, that email right there.
And say, put Ditch Diggers in the title. That helps.
Because Murr does many podcasts, people. Many, many podcasts.
Murr does.
Murr does stuff.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Murr does stuff.
And remember, we both have books out. 6 Wakes is still available. People are still saying cool things about it, which is nice. So, pick up a copy and tell your friends. And
that was really good. That was probably the best straight book promo you've done on the show.
Thank you. I'm working on it.
You are. You're getting better. I'm proud of you. It's a confidence thing. It's not a promo thing. You're very good talking on the internet. I didn't mean to imply you weren't. But
Okay.
you're always reticent to just shamelessly promote yourself is the problem.
I've been talking into a mic for like an hour, and I already feel like I've done plenty of promotion, even though I know it's
Yes,
not
but you
technically.
haven't. That's
I know.
the thing.
I know.
That's the thing. You let that get to you. You have not at all. I have done. I did more promoting of your book in that hour than you did. So you are perfectly entitled to promote your book, which you did, and you did well.
All right.
And you should go buy 6 Weeks because it's a really good book. I also have books out, Mer. I
Yeah.
write books too.
I said that,
I write the Sin de Jour series from Tor.com Publishing, and
which is awesome.
it's a novella series, print and ebook, and the latest one is Idle Ingredients. It's the 4th book in the series, and I recommend you go pick up all of them because they all relate to each other. The next one coming out is called Greedy Pigs, and it's out May 16th.
Wow, another one
yeah.
already.
Another one already. That's what's so great about novella series is you don't get any of that epic, fantasy tome shit where it's like 16 years between books.
Yeah.
We break you off a new story within a few months, and it's one of the great things about it. So please go out, support your local novella authors. It's a new thing in the mainstream. It's a new old thing that we're doing. So support me and other authors doing that. I also have another novella out called Rancor, Life in Grudge City. It's a buddy cop novella about luchadors, Mexican wrestlers, and I'm very, very proud of that. It's with an indie publisher called From Parts Unknown, so we appreciate your support. And please buy all those things. And also please support the Ditch Diggers on Patreon. Where's our Patreon, Mara?
Patreon is patreon.com/MightyMur.
It allows us to do more and better episodes.
Yep.
And even $1 is a big deal to us, folks. So if you could hit that up and support us, we really appreciate it. And again, thank you to all of you who supported us and voted for us for the HUGO ballot. We are very honored to be on it for our 2nd year of work doing this.
I still can't believe it. It's still not real. It might be real tomorrow.
I know. When this episode comes out, it's going to be announced to everybody, where it's going to be out there. There's going to be no taking it back, Mark.
Yeah.
It can't be taken back. So thank you to everybody. If you are a member of the World Fantasy Convention, please do continue to support us. We'd also like to win the award at Worldcon. Sorry.
If
you're a member of Worldcon, please support us. If you can vote for the HUGOs, please do so and vote for us. Thank you. Those are all the things.
All the things. All right. We mentioned we have some exciting people coming up. Hopefully we'll get that to you in about 2 weeks. And until then, we'll see you around. Mighty Mur. No, that's my email address. I can't do this. I really just have not been doing it long enough, apparently. Murverse.com and ditchdiggers.murverse.com are my sites. And Matt's site is...
Matt-Wallace.com, and you can find me on Twitter at MattFNWallace because I also use the goddamn Twitters.
Yes, I'm Mighty Mur on Twitters as well. And the other places where I do not take pictures of my favorite bands and not put them online.
The one you did take was absolutely adorable, though.
It was awesome.
It was really cool.
Maybe we'll put that in the show notes.
You should put that in the show notes so people have a point of reference.
Yeah, all right. You can support us at patreon.com/MightyMur.
Ditch Diggers!
Theme song by Devo Spice, devospice.com.